They could just go for Heat Wave with the Moltres, but if they land Heat Wave into both my Pokemon, that's just GG regardless. But if they go for something like Overheat Body Press, then I at least get a KO into Moltres here. I'll protect Calyrex too, just to preserve it, so I have more Pokemon to throw at the Zamazenta if this pays off, which I don't think it will. They do go for Body Press. They do go for Flamethrower. Okay, they actually did exactly what I said could conceivably maybe let me back into this game. Welcome back to VGC Legends, the series where I spin a wheel of names, get a random legendary Pokemon that exists in Scarlet and Violet, build a team with it on the spot, and try that team out on the VGC Regulation I ladder. I do this for two reasons. One is just that I really like legendary Pokemon, and the other is as an excuse to build and try out a bunch of different kinds of teams, get into a bunch of different gameplay situations with some good teams, some bad teams, a variety of play styles, some teams that demand to be played in very particular ways perhaps, and have kind of an adventure and maybe learn some things along the way. Last time was certainly an adventure with a very aggressive, hyper-offensive team, and last time, before I spun the wheel, I remarked that there was still a lot of Generation 9 Pokemon left on it, and sure enough, I did get a Generation 9 Pokemon. So, just for fun, I'm going to say something again now and see if I get the thing that I remarked on. And what stands out to me on this wheel right now is that there has not been a single Generation 2 Legendary picked yet. There are only 5 of them, but there were only 4 Gen 1 Legendaries, and half of those have been picked already. Let's see if we get something from Gen 2 this time. Let's go. It's slowing down. Not on Gen 2. We're heading to a late generation. Looks like it's going to stop on Necrozma. It is Necrozma. Alright, well, Necrozma is still definitely a Pokemon that we can have some fun with. Alright, 20th video in the series, and I think the first one where the featured legendary has more than 2 forms. Necrozma, of course, has 3. I am a little bit tempted to be special and different and try out the ordinary Necrozma form. I don't actually know whether this one has a specific name, or what that might be, but it's bad. It's a bad restricted Pokemon, and I think I'm just going to make a bad team if I do that. And I don't really want to make a bad team intentionally. If it happens, it happens, but I think there's not much value in trying this form. That means trying one of the other forms, both of which are, I noticed they're 2 points of base speed slower than the regular one. I hadn't noticed that before. Duskmane Necrozma, of course, focused on physical attack. Dawn Wings on special attack. They're also 20 points of base speed, I think. I think that's right. Slower than Solgaleo and Lunala. And here I have kind of an interesting choice, because I have a much clearer idea on what to do with Dawn Wings Necrozma, but really only one. It's Hard Trick Room. And I could do that, but I mean, I've done it before. In fact, I used Dawn Wings Necrozma on Hard Trick Room in the May Grand Challenge this season. I'm not really doing anything creative there. On the other hand, I would have to get creative to use Duskmane Necrozma, because I really don't have any idea what I would do with it right now. It's not a Pokemon that has much presence at all in the format. I think it does get some results once in a while, but it's not a Pokemon that I have much of a comfort level with. So I have opened up bunch stats again. What I'm going to do is see what I can find on Duskmane Necrozma. You can see that there's a point, both of them are under 0.5% usage, but there's a pretty significant difference, 0.03, pretty significant for the percentages that they're at, by which Dawn Wings is used more than Duskmane. Duskmane Necrozma not getting much use at all. Most often paired with Kyogre, apparently, as its restricted partner. Rapid Strike Urshifu, Rillaboom, Incineroar, Landorus. I see the vision for the team, but I don't know why you would use Duskmane Necrozma on it. It's Swordfish, but you have a different Steel-type restricted, but I don't know why. Amoonguss, Female Indeedee, Miraidon, Roaring Moon, Koraidon. Not really getting a coherent picture from that. Maybe some Trick Roomy teams. I mean, Trick Room makes sense. It is definitely one of the more Trick Room-oriented restricted Pokemon. Yeah, the most common partners here, this is just a Swordfish team, but there's no sword. There's a lion instead of a sword. Sunsteel Strike, Photon Geyser, Protect, Trick Room. By far the most common moves. The majority have those 4. Clear Amulet, by far the most common item, which makes sense. Unlike Solgaleo, it doesn't have Full Metal Body. But Weakness Policy Set's fairly common as well, that also makes sense. So, I mean, I can kind of see it, but I mean, I guess with a clear amulet, it's kind of like a much slower Zacian that can't be intimidated. I wouldn't want to take a knockoff or a Will-O-Wisp from an Incineroar still. I see Fire as one of its more used Terra types. And being a lot slower seems pretty significant. Zacian, one thing that makes Zacian notable in this format is it is faster than Miraidon. Duskmane Necrozma is a lot slower than Miraidon. So I think it's probably going to be Dawn Wings Necrozma. I'll take a look at it on Munch Stats as well, see if I get a different idea from the obvious hard Trick Room stuff. But I think, yeah, Indeedee, Ice Rider, Smeargle, or Shifu, or Saluna Torkoal. In the Grand Challenge, I used 5 of those 6 Pokemon. The one that I didn't use was Urshifu. I used the other 5. One thing that I did think coming away from the Grand Challenge was that I could have made more use of the Smeargle. I brought it to by far fewer games than anything else, but it kind of popped off when I did bring it. So I could run back the same kind of team, but make more of an effort to bring the Smeargle to games and click Decorate into my restricted Pokemon. Or I could run Urshifu this time instead of Smeargle. Or instead of Torkoal. Torkoal is kind of nice though. I like the weather control that you get along with the fire coverage. By the way, by far the most common moves on Dawn Wings Necrozma are the 4 that I used on that team. Moongeist Beam, Trick Room, Meteor Beam, and Expanding Force. Power Herb, by far the most common item. I mistakenly thought one of the reasons that I brought it was it is slower than Lunala. That part is true, so it'll go first in Trick Room. I mistakenly thought that I'd be able to blast through their Shadow Shield with my own Moongeist Beam before they could move. Turns out Shadow Shield is an unignorable ability, but I didn't know that until after the challenge started. Yeah, alright. Expanding Force, Dawn Wings, Necrozma. I mean, it's fun. It's pretty strong. I don't have any issue with it on those grounds. It just feels a little boring because this is a team I've used recently already. But you know what? I think we take some of these easy ones in this series. You can't be all original all the time, and I think I am getting too in my head in recent videos about trying to be original with the series when that's not necessarily the goal. There's a place for it, but it's not necessarily the goal every time. I'm just going to run back the same team, or as close to it as I remember. I'll just fill it in and talk about it. There's not really much more thinking for me to do here. We'll cut to the team in a second. Okay, team looks like this. This is very close to what I used in the May Grand Challenge. Not exactly the same. I think I dropped Fake Out on the Smeargle in the Grand Challenge. I dropped one of the moves that Smeargle normally always runs. I think it was Fake Out. I don't think it would have been Follow Me. And I had Wide Guard. But if I'm going to put more emphasis on bringing Smeargle to games this time, then I think I might need the Fake Out support to get my Trick Room set up in some situations. So I have made that one change. If anything else is different from my May Grand Challenge team, it's because I misremembered, so you wouldn't know, and neither would I, unless you happen to play me and have a good memory of it. I went back and forth even at the time on Terra Grass versus Terra Water on Dawn Wings Necrozma. Both are defensive Terra types of some kind of value. I like Grass because it makes Necrozma immune to Spore. There are some situations where that was very valuable. There are some situations where the resistances were very valuable. There were some situations where I would rather have Water. Might come down to preference. I like Indeedee because, well, for the Grand Challenge I was expecting to see a lot of Miraidon, so Indeedee underspeeding them and changing the terrain immediately was valuable. I definitely think that bringing Indeedee to Miraidon matchups is still very likely here, leading it into Miraidon matchups, and also things like opposing Fake Out spam if I see Pokemon like Rillaboom and Incineroar on the opponent's team. Those are the games where I might lean toward Indeedee, but I think I will make a deliberate effort to bring Smeargle more often than I did with the first version of this team, where, like I said, it was by far the Pokemon that I brought least. Indeedee and Torkoal are also kind of nice because they give me some terrain and weather control, which is valuable when this is a very offensive team trying to win within a few turns of Trick Room. Ice Rider, Calyrex, and Ursaluna, of course, have the same base speed, which is always a little bit awkward. I was at one point considering Iron Hands for this team, but that would be a third Pokemon at the same base speed, and I just wasn't feeling it. Ursaluna has a speed IV of 2 here, so it's 1 point faster than Ice Rider Calyrex. That way under Trick Room, Calyrex will move first, and I can make sure that it snipes the KOs on weakened opponents to get its Chilling Neigh boosts. That pretty much covers it. Expanding Force, Necrozma, hoping to land those Meteor Beams, get that power up, and then throw off that big spread damage, and it also has the Moongeist Beam as well. And that is the key here. And if you're wondering how I did in the May Grand Challenge, it's actually talked about in another video that is coming up later on this channel, so I could say wait and watch that one, but that one's not scheduled for a while. So I was doing well at first. My goal for the event was top 256. Watch another video that's coming up sometime in the future to find out why. And I was within the top 256 with 5 hours left in the event, but then I fell just outside and I played a few more games in the literal last hour, and I went on a nasty losing streak and dropped quite a bit. But through almost all of the event, it was going pretty well. Anyway, White Kyurem, Smeargle, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Terapagos, Mimikyu. The Mimikyu is interesting here. I don't know why you would use Mimikyu on this kind of team, except as an especially reliable Trick Room setter, so they may want Trick Room themselves. Maybe. I said I would try to bring Smeargle to a game. Let's go ahead and intentionally bring the Smeargle with the Ice Rider Calyrex this time. Necrozma, and would Indeedee still be valuable here? They do actually have possible fake out spam with the Incineroar. Let's bring Smeargle in the back. Let's do Indeedee Calyrex, very typical lead for this team. Necrozma, Smeargle. Maybe it'd be better to have a third offensive Pokemon, but I said I would make an intentional effort to bring Smeargle to games, and we will go ahead and get started on that right now. I see Incineroar, I see Amoonguss. I kind of want to follow me and Trick Room, but then Amoonguss will underspeed Calyrex and Indeedee will probably be asleep. I think I can Terra Grass Indeedee here. It's pretty aggressive, but you have to make aggressive plays with this kind of team. I might come to regret it, but I'll go ahead and get the Spore immunity on Indeedee here. It also means that Indeedee won't be weak to the knockoff anymore, so it'll be harder for Incineroar to remove it, unless this Incineroar has Flare Blitz, which some do these days, but I think most don't. They taunt Indeedee. Okay, that's a good tech by them. That really messes me up, because Indeedee is immune to the Spore now, but it has no way to redirect the Spore away from Calyrex. That's really awkward. I guess I'll just protect and switch. Maybe it's for the best that I brought my other Follow Me user. Their Water Amoonguss. This Amoonguss is ready to deal with this team. Actually, the problem with Smeargle here is that Smeargle can just be made to take a nap. But I guess what I can do is High Horsepower Incineroar and Follow Me this turn. I can also Spore Amoonguss now that it's a water type. I think it might be more, but they can Spore Smeargle first. They'll underspeed. Alright, I don't like it, but I'll Follow Me. The Amoonguss just has me contorting all kinds of ways to try to deal with it. So maybe getting my Trick Room turn 1 there was not the right play. Smeargle gets a speed boost too from Moody. I'm going to switch Smeargle out here anyway. Go back to Indeedee. They might read this and taunt the Indeedee slot, but I actually should have clicked Trick Room there with Calyrex maybe instead of High Horsepower. But how do I get damage onto the Amoonguss? I guess I need to get Necrozma in safely somehow. This is a really awkward first game for this video. I don't like it. Heal their Incineroar. All the more reason I've really not accomplished much so far. I can knock it out with a High Horsepower now. Maybe they'll switch. Let's actually go for the High Horsepower into Amoonguss. See what kind of damage that does. They might want to taunt my Indeedee here. And it does less damage than I'd like. They actually Pollen Puff. That does some damage to Indeedee. Knock off. Get Helmet Chip on Incineroar. Can High Horsepower into Amoonguss here. Follow Me, sack Indeedee. No more Psychic Terrain for the rest of the game. The Amoonguss just completely warped my team here. I guess if I'd known that they led with it, I could have led with my Terra Grass Necrozma. That doesn't care about being taunted. It wants to attack. We do redirect a Spore here, but I missed the High Horsepower. Okay. I kind of want to rage quit this game, but that's not really my style. The Mimikyu can set Trick Room back up if they want. Instead, they burn the Indeedee because I redirected it. Indeedee will get knocked out here. A Glacial Lance to break the disguise. But Amoonguss is now probably not in range of a high horsepower. I can go Necrozma. And do what? Maybe with the Prism armor can take a hit from Mimikyu? No, that doesn't work because... Well, what else do I have? It doesn't work because they have the Will-O-Wisp and a Calyrex, but what else do I have? I'm gonna Meteor Beam this Amoonguss. Try to get my boost. I actually might need to... I'm gonna high horsepower Amoonguss and Meteor Beam Mimikyu. I kind of need to damage Mimikyu because it doesn't even need to Shadow Sneak, it can Shadow Claw. We do still survive with the Prism armor. That doesn't KO. Was there Amoonguss faster than my Calyrex the whole time? Or did I misclick Trick Room? I always assume every Amoonguss I see is min speed, but... Yeah, okay, some of them aren't. This would be a good time for a first turn Wake. And I think that would be pretty fair, all things considered. Okay. I have a free KO and a Necrozma here. I can switch Smeargle in. Actually, it might be worth it to switch Smeargle in. I do give up Necrozma's boost, but it's better than just letting it go down to a Shadow Claw. They switch the Amoonguss out, they'll get Regenerator from that. But they do no damage this turn because of the immunity. Calyrex had another chance to wake up there, doesn't get it. They can fake out Calyrex here, so I'm going to Protect if I wake up. I'm going to go for Spore into Mimikyu. They'll probably KO the Smeargle, actually. But okay, wake up, get the Protect. They play Rough into Smeargle, knock off into Calyrex. I get Necrozma back. I've already used my one Meat-Eater Beam. Sorry, that's a Wolf Glickism. I'm gonna high horsepower and Protect. But this is pretty doomed. This was a rough game. I didn't I'm gonna be honest, I didn't enjoy this one. I mean, it's okay, it happens sometimes. It's not like my opponent did anything wrong. They actually just played well with the Amoonguss, and by the way, they only brought one of the restricted Pokemon to this game. I don't even know which one because the support Pokemon put in so much work, but... hopefully that game doesn't tilt me the rest of the way. That was really rough. Here's a Miraidon team. So again, I said that I wanted to lead Indeedee into those because if they lead Miraidon, I get terrain control immediately. They don't get electric terrain boosted damage turn 1, and that's all I need to get Trick Room up in some situations. They have an Ursaluna. It might not be min speed Ursaluna on this team, but I don't know that it isn't. Nonetheless, my team has one game plan and we're going to go for it. We're going to bring Necrozma. I can bring Torkoal because Torkoal can underspeed Ursaluna. I forgot to say about Torkoal, I'm running Weather Ball instead of Heat Wave because there's enough Wide Guard in this format that just having spread Fire type damage is pretty bad, especially when Torkoal runs Earth Power for coverage, but its Earth Power is really not that good. I'm not even sure that move is worthwhile. I do still run it though. My Ursaluna is not min speed, so it is. If theirs is, then it'll it'll underspeed. It'll move before mine in Trick Room. On the other hand, the electric immunity might be valuable here, and the ghost immunity. So even though I just topped up Torkoal, I think I actually bring Ursaluna to this. Alright, Lunala, Miraidon, they could have Wide Guard. The good thing is this turn, I follow me in Trick Room, and maybe I get to scout whether they have Wide Guard. We'll see what that gets me. Volt Switch, there's no Wide Guard this turn. That doesn't mean they don't have it. Getting Incineroar in. Trick Room. Oh, that's really smart. Yeah, okay, they deny the Trick Room by using their own Trick Room. I have found, though, in these positions that usually the opponent won't do it a second time in a row. So I'm going to try again to set Trick Room here. And if they knock out my Indeedee with a knockoff here, then I get Necrozma in for free. I still have to actually hope that the Trick Room is up, but in my experience in Best of 1, this works more often than not. They Will-O-Wisp. Okay, I was hoping they'd KO Indeedee, but they didn't. They didn't take that bait. That Will-O-Wisp is so bad. Maybe I should run. If I'm gonna keep running into Will-O-Wisp every game, maybe I should switch to Terra Fire Calyrex. In fact, I think I will right now. Watch me never see another Will-O-Wisp in the rest of the video. I kind of wish Indeedee had been knocked out there, though. I'm gonna go. If they're clicking Moonblast, I don't want to Terra Dragon. All the more reason to have Terra Fire, but I don't this game. I'm gonna go Helping Hand and High Horsepower into Incineroar. Try to avoid the Will-O-Wisp if I possibly can. There's the Wide Guard finally, so good thing I didn't click Glacial Lance. I did think about it. I just go Parting Shot, but the Clear Amulet stops that. I don't think they let me just have their Incineroar here. I'm going to look to break the Shadow Shield. Make a bit of a risky... I was going to switch Necrozma, and I'm actually going to switch Ursaluna in. I can threaten Lunala with a Headlong Rush once the Shadow Shield is broken. They leave Incineroar in, but they miss a Will-O-Wisp and a Calyrex. They actually just went for it. In that case, I'll adjust to their play, and I'll just High Horsepower the Incineroar slot here and Headlong Rush the Lunala slot. Maybe that doesn't do as much damage as I'd like after the Electric Seed boost. I'm also getting close to running out of Trick Room turns, but let's try to make something happen here. They might take the KO on Calyrex. They might actually preserve their Incineroar here because they have the KO on Calyrex available. They go Urshifu. They let me have the Incineroar, but it does knock me out back with a Rocky Helmet. That's not an amazing trade, but it's not Sash or Shifu, so it just gets knocked out by the Headlong Rush. Still one turn of Trick Room left. I'm going to go Necrozma immediately. Shadow Shield is broken. Doesn't matter that it's unignorable. I'm going to Moongeist Beam the Lunala, and they haven't Terrasolized. It could be Terra Fairy on this team probably, but we're just going to Moongeist Beam, get what damage we can. I still have Indeedee, so I can follow me one time, and I am going to click a Headlong Rush into Miraidon. Most of those don't run Protect. So this being the last turn of Trick Room. Oh, the Lunala doesn't have Protect either, it just has Wide Guard. Yeah, alright, so that game got a little bit dicey, but it had a very different ending from the first one. As, you know, when you run hard Trick Room, you're usually trying to win the game in those 5 Trick Room turns. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you can still manage to set Trick Room back up, or even play outside of it in some positions. But I did manage to make just enough use there. I mean, them gifting me their non-Sash or Shifu probably made the difference there, but yeah, I got just enough done. Get through that. Here's a Lunala Ice Rider team. This one also has an Amoonguss. I think for once I will learn my lesson. I actually might even want to lead Necrozma here instead of Calyrex. There's a case for it at least. Because I can Terra Grass the Necrozma. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll bring Calyrex in the back, I think. I could bring Ursaluna Torkoal to this one. Torkoal slower than Amoonguss? It is. I'll bring Torkoal. This is how I fall into a pattern of not bringing Smeargle, right? There are so many games where the other Pokemon feel more useful intuitively. But once in a while, Smeargle gets a matchup where it can really pop off. But hey, maybe there's a reason a lot of people run Urshifu in that slot instead. Alright, Incineroar, Lunala, no fake out target. They can knock off the Indeedee if they want, but I will... Why do I have Protect instead of Trick Room on my Necrozma? That is just straight up a mistake. It's supposed to have Trick Room. You probably noticed that when I was showing the open team sheet, but I missed it somehow. Sometimes I do that, sometimes my brain just kind of autofills Protect in the last slot, even on Pokemon that aren't supposed to have it. You don't know how many times when I'm making a team for a short, I get on the ladder and then realize that my Assault Vest Rillaboom has Protect instead of U-Turn or high horsepower. So I didn't get to play this exactly the way I wanted, but I do still get my Trick Room up, and I can Meteor Beam Incineroar here. They might switch it out to preserve it, because Meteor Beam is kind of obvious, but I still get my boost into something. It'll just follow me here. Let Indeedee potentially go down, not if they Moongeist Beam again. But I can get the Necrozma going now. This is Yeah, okay, they switched to Ice Rider Calyrex. That probably doesn't take a Meteor Beam very well. Terra Fairy Lunala. You land the Meteor Beam at KOs. Nice. Moongeist Beam into Indeedee does nothing. This is the power of Dawn Wings and Necrozma here. This is the kind of position that this Pokemon can get. I don't have the super effective Moongeist Beam into the Lunala anymore, and I also don't have the Meteor Beam available into Incineroar. I could Expanding Force here. That might actually be the best thing. The terrain boost, but of course it does nothing to Incineroar. I still have Shadow Shield anyway. I'm just going to Moongeist Beam Lunala and follow me. A Parting Shoot, but it's redirected into Indeedee, so that's cool. Urshifu comes in. They reversed the Trick Room. That's a good tech, but I'm going to Terra Grass here. That way I don't have to worry about Necrozma taking a hit. I don't think I even have to click Follow Me then. I think I can just Helping Hand Expanding Force. Or, better, Expanding Force and get the Trick Room right back up. Of course, Necrozma being slower than Lunala really wants to have that Trick Room in this kind of position. And that's one, I mean, Lunala is probably the better Pokemon for the most part. The tournament results so far suggest that. Okay, I didn't get the Trick Room, but that's okay. Well, hopefully it's okay. It's going to have to be. That just KOs both of them. But yeah, one thing that Necrozma has going for it is that it's slower. Now I can get Calyrex in. I have the Clear Amulet. Incineroar can only fake out one target, and it'll take a ton of damage from the other anyway, so I don't think it will. I would consider clicking Trick Room with Necrozma if I had it. Next game I'll have it, but instead I guess I just Moongeist Beam and High Horsepower. The Will-O-Wisp, that's fine. This Incineroar is still going to start accumulating damage here. Yeah, and I can just Moongeist Beam again, and I actually will click Trick Room with the Calyrex here, because why? That's the wrong move slot. I will click Trick Room here with the Calyrex, because why not? But it doesn't matter. Necrozma closes this one out. Very nice. That's the power of Dawn Wings Necrozma right there. The tournament results for it aren't amazing from what I've seen. It has some results, but I do think it's actually pretty good. Like, maybe not greatest restricted Pokemon ever, worthy of one of your 2 slots if you're trying to win Worlds, but I do think it's pretty good. This person loves the land of Kitakami. They have Pheasantipity and Blood Moon Ursaluna, both of which I haven't seen much of lately. They also have Sinistcha. This is a big Kitakami enthusiast here. They also have Toxapex, which is really scary, but also weak to Expanding Force. But also I think Toxapex might get Wide Guard. I feel like that's something I should know, and yet I'm not sure. Pheasantipity is tricky because it has spread poison chances with Dazzling Gleam and Toxic Chain. However, I think kind of want to do Calyrex and Indeedee lead. The problem is Toxapex. If I see Toxapex, I'd much rather do Calyrex Necrozma lead. If I see their Calyrex, I'd probably rather my Calyrex with Indeedee. I think Necrozma and Indeedee is a little bit more sound overall. I'll bring Calyrex, and I'll bring Ursaluna. Yeah, that intentional choice to bring Smeargle more often is already kind of disappearing, but well, kind of just how it goes, I guess. Once I take another loss, maybe I'll do an I'm bringing Smeargle no matter what game or something. But hey, this isn't the Smeargle video, it's the Dawn Wings Necrozma video. I know sometimes a teammate hijacks. We saw that with that Walking Wake that one time. Opponent says that shiny looks really cool in chat. I agree. Kind of too bad I don't have a shiny Necrozma in the actual games. Toxic Spikes from the Toxapex. That shouldn't be too big an issue because my team is just so offensive. It should be. It's trying to win games quickly regardless. Actually, I'm gonna Meat Eater Beam the Calyrex here because that's the bigger threat than the Toxapex, almost certainly. And since I can't redirect Glacial Lance with Follow Me, I'll just use Helping Hand into the Meteor Beam instead. Ah, there is the Wide Guard. Okay, so good thing I didn't go for Expanding Force. Calyrex is gone. It does manage to land a Leech Seed, so I can't get rid of that without giving up my boost. Here's Pheasantipity. I'm obviously really disincentivized to click Expanding Force here, even though my opponent has 2 poison types, so good for them with the Wide Guard there. Moongeist Beam into Pheasantipity it is, and I'll switch to Ursaluna here. Ursaluna will get poisoned, that's fine, it activates Guts, just like a burn. But now I'm threatening Earthquake and Headlong Rush while I still have Trick Room turns. Pheasantipity actually takes that pretty well. Does Necrozma get poisoned by the Dazzling Gleam? It doesn't. But all of their remaining Pokemon are weak to ground, and there's still 2 turns of Trick Room left. They can Terrasilize something. I'm going to give up my... Oh. I was going to say, I can't switch Necrozma out because of the infestation. That is incorrect. I can switch it out because it's a ghost type. I'll go Indeedee. I don't really care about sacking Indeedee here. No Earthquake. Obviously Indeedee will take damage, but I'd rather it do that than Necrozma. Look at that, 2 KOs. And then they bring Miraidon in. Miraidon don't usually run Protect. On this team it might. But if not, it's going to drop to a Glacial Lance or a Headlong Rush here. Most likely. They poison me, but that's just... I mean, that damage is just too slow. Fairy. I still don't think it's taking both of these. Yeah, exactly. GG to my opponent. The hard Trick Room offense was just too powerful here. It's an interesting tech with Pheasantipity, the Toxapex, clearly trying to trap opponents and wear them down. Dawnwing's Necrozma coming in handy here because it's a ghost type and it can't be trapped. And Leech Seed Calyrex as well, but that was all just too slow for this game. Obviously, slow in the sense that it accumulates damage and moves its game plan too slowly. My team has lower speed stats. There's a Shadow Rider Zamazenta team. This one could have some fake out spam. Urshifu is also pretty scary, so I'm going to lead Necrozma and Indeedee. Zamazenta is rough for Ice Rider Calyrex, but on the other hand, Ice Rider Calyrex is rough for Rillaboom, Shadow Rider Calyrex, and Raging Bolt and Trick Room, so I don't know that I leave it behind. It's also just one of my best Pokemon. I think I bring it, but I think I also bring Torkoal to pressure the Zamazenta with the Weather Ball. And hopefully that works out. Calyrex, Incineroar. A little bit awkward that they can just Astral Barrage my Necrozma into another dimension, so I guess I'll go ahead and Terrasilize it right away. Go for Trick Room, cover for something like a knockoff from the Incineroar with Follow Me. Astral Barrage will do nothing to Indeedee. Knockoff will do a lot, but this one also could... I mean, this could also be another Taunt Incineroar or something. Who knows? Terra Dark Calyrex immediately. Makes sense. Harder for Necrozma to deal with even once the Trick Room is up. That Astral Barrage also does a ton of damage. Indeedee gets knocked off. Might be nice if Indeedee were KO'd here because I would have more immediate threats into the Calyrex and it wouldn't be able to just knock out Necrozma this next turn. As it is, it can do that. I think I'll just go down swinging at the Incineroar with a Meteor Beam. I swear I'm not intentionally saying Meat Eater Beam all these times. I don't need Helping Hand. I can actually Alluring Voice the Calyrex now that it's a Dark type. I swear it's an accidental slip that I keep saying Meat Eater Beam over and over. It's one of my favorite Wolf Glickisms, but I'm not doing it on purpose in this video. I'm sure I have in the past. They protected for some reason. Well, I guess just to kill a turn of Trick Room, but that meant that Necrozma got a KO kind of for free. Now it has another chance to do damage into this. I can just Expanding Force. It won't do anything to the Calyrex, but it'll do a lot to the Urshifu, and I'll go for the Alluring Voice again. Yeah, I understand the impulse to click Protect in an opponent's Trick Room. I do it often, but it gave me a lot of momentum here that I would not have had otherwise. Zamazenta comes in. It can't Wide Guard because it just switched in. Takes a ton from Expanding Force. Urshifu knocked down with Sash. Indeedee doesn't get the KO, but because Zamazenta, I think because it got the defense boost, I think this is how this move works. Zamazenta does get confused, and they went for Coaching this turn. They're still not taking damage, and I still have 2 more turns of Trick Room. They can Protect through this one if they want. I'm not going to click Expanding Force because they probably have Wide Guard. They can Protect through this turn if they want. They can't Aqua Jet in the Psychic Terrain. They might have forgotten because it's a Trick Room background. But like these attacks are pretty free. Zamazenta had even had a chance to hurt itself in confusion there and fail to protect, but it didn't happen. They do get to scout what I do here. I'm just going to switch my targets. I'm going to Moongeist Beam this and Alluring Voice this in case they try to switch Calyrex in on a resisted Moongeist Beam. Maybe they see through that, but maybe they don't. And hey, I should get good damage into something no matter what. They only have one switch available. They actually just go for the double protect with they went for the double protect with both. I think I just get 2 KOs here, right? Yeah, Alluring Voice is plenty to Zamazenta. They do get their Calyrex in now. Kinda free. So maybe that's what they were going for all along. But you know what? Here's the neat thing. I'm gonna click Trick Room with both of my Pokemon. Because Indeedee is immune to Astral Barrage, Calyrex can only knock one of them out this turn. So I'm going to assume that it will knock one of them out this turn. If they can beat this by going for Nasty Plot, actually, but I'm going to assume it's an Astral Barrage. It's actually Psychic into Indeedee, but because I clicked Trick Room with both Pokemon, it doesn't matter. I get the Trick Room back up with whichever one survives. If they had clicked Nasty Plot there, I would have just used Trick Room twice and reversed it. But instead, I get Torkoal in. And I get a single target Eruption into this Calyrex, and they can protect through this turn. I'm going to cover for that by switching to Ice Rider Calyrex, so I have even more damage available next turn. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I think it was more sound to just attack there, but it does work out. They do protect. But I still have 3 more turns of Trick Room. Single target Glacial Lance, single target Eruption. Yeah, this team was really cooking for a while in the Grand Challenge, until in the literal last hour it wasn't. But I had a lot of fun with it. And like I said, Dawnwing's Necrozma I think is legitimately not bad. It might not be good enough to use to try to win Worlds. So be it. But I think it's legitimately not bad. This person's a Moltres. I also have a Terapagos, which is awkward for Necrozma. They also have a Zamazenta, so I kind of want to bring Urshifu. I keep doing that. I kind of want to bring Ursaluna to help me with the Terapagos, but Torkoal is better into the Zamazenta, but Torkoal is pretty bad into Terapagos and Moltres and maybe Urshifu, depending on the form. Maybe I don't even want to give a Photosynthesis boost to their Flutter Mane, although I could see it being Sunny Day Whimsicott on this team. I think I've talked myself into Indeedee, one of my restricteds. Let's say Necrozma, Calyrex, Ursaluna. Okay, they lead Terapagos, Whimsicott. They can't do any Prankster shenanigans in the terrain. They also... I was going to say they don't have an immediate threat into Necrozma, but it actually could be Dark Pulse Terapagos. That does exist. Do I cover for that? So what I'm thinking is I either attack and Trick Room with Indeedee, or I follow me and Trick Room with Necrozma. Attacking is more aggressive. I think in this position it basically only loses to Dark Pulse Terapagos. I'm going to say they don't have Dark Pulse. I'm going to click Meteor Beam into Terapagos to break the Terra Shell. They actually just Terra Stellar immediately. That makes sense. They get rid of my Psychic Terrain, which is actually kind of annoying because I would like the boosted Expanding Force after this. But I'll go Meteor Beam. Necrozma took a lot of damage there too from that spread Starstorm. Go Meteor Beam. I'll get my Trick Room up. I cannot... Oh, you know what they can do now? They can Encore Necrozma as well. But I actually think I just have to give up the boost here. That's really annoying. That's really annoying. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I'll go Ursaluna. I think it's the least valuable Pokemon I have right now. I will click Alluring Voice into Terapagos. I probably should have been Whimsicott in case it has a Sash. They just reversed the Trick Room. That makes sense. And then they knock Indeedee out, so I can't... Okay, I guessed wrong on the Encore target. Probably should have figured that. Yeah, I'm in a lot of danger here. I mean, I get a pretty free Glacial Lance here. But if that doesn't knock out the Terapagos, I don't know how I ever beat it. The Tailwind? They have the speed advantage anyway. I don't really know why they did that. Sash Whimsicott just misses the KO on Terapagos. Yeah, this was really smart by my opponent. I'm going to go for the double protect on Ursaluna because neither Ursaluna nor Necrozma takes another Terra Starstorm. Calyrex is my only Pokemon that does. Try to Glacial Lance. They just played so aggressively with the Terrapagos and it paid off for them. I did get the double protect though. So I do knock both of these out. The Encore threat is gone, but all of my Pokemon are at low HP and I don't have Trick Room up. And here's Moltres and here's Zamazenta. I mean, this is 2 free KOs for them. I'm going to Terra Ghost the Ursaluna and click Facade into Moltres. I think they go for something. They could just go for Heat Wave with the Moltres, but if they land Heat Wave into both my Pokemon, that's just GG regardless. But if they go for something like Overheat Body Press, then I at least get a KO into Moltres here. I'll protect Calyrex too, just to preserve it. So I have more Pokemon to throw at the Zamazenta if this pays off, which I don't think it will. They do go for Body Press. They do go for Flamethrower. Okay, they actually did exactly what I said could conceivably maybe let me back into this game. Still feels like a long shot. I'm just going to go Headlong Rush, Trick Room. They go for the KO into Ursaluna. They don't get it. Ursaluna does a ton of damage, and I do finally get my Trick Room back up, and I actually have managed to pull this one back when it looked pretty doomed. My opponent got me good with the aggressive Terrapagos play, but they made just enough mistakes to let me back in here, and this should be a win. Let's wait until it's official. High Horsepower knocks out the Zamazenta. GG. All right, let's see. I need to look back at the log for that one. Yeah, so my max HP Calyrex, they never got any boosts on Terrapagos. Maybe it wasn't... I don't know what its item was. I don't know if it was a setup set or anything. But when nobody else on my team could take 2 Terra Starstorms, Calyrex did. I praised them for playing aggressively with the Terrapagos, but at the same time, they left it on there forever. I don't think they ever clicked Protect. Maybe it was choiced. And that gave Calyrex just enough openings to knock it out. And then, yeah, the big thing here was, I don't know what the Moltres' moves are. It might not have had Heat Wave. If it had landed Heat Wave into both my Pokemon, the game was just over. Well, okay, it couldn't be both because Calyrex protected. But the game was just over here. But, yeah, they let the Terra Ghost Ursaluna take the KO on the Moltres after avoiding the Body Press with the Ghost typing. And then I just had too many Pokemon for Zamazenta to beat from there. So really, really good, cool plays by my opponent early on, but they did just enough to let me back into the game. Miraidon, Zamazenta, Iron Bundle, Farigiraf, Cornerstone Mask, Ogerpon, and Volcarona. This one looks hard to deal with for sure. Volcarona is an issue for this team. I guess Ursaluna is my best Volcarona answer. And Ursaluna is pretty good into Miraidon and Zamazenta as well. And maybe even Iron Bundle if I get Trick Room up, although Iron Bundle... physically bulky, offensive threat. It's a Miraidon team. I'll lead in DD. With Necrozma. Instead of that intentional effort I talked about to bring Smeargle to more games, you're seeing how I fall into a pattern of bringing Smeargle into barely any games. This is what happened in the Grand Challenge too, but hey, maybe there's some value in that. They look like they want to knock my DD out quickly. That's fine with me if I get my Trick Room up. Once I'm at 2 losses... Yeah, there goes the DD. Once I'm at 2 losses, that Farigiraf is going to want to reverse the Trick Room, and I don't know if I can stop it. I guess this turn I go... honestly, Ursaluna. Honestly, rip the Terra Ghost so it can't just get knocked out by a Body Press. Meteor Beam. Headlong Rush. Because Facade isn't boosted yet. I want to get this Farigiraf out of here if I possibly can. I don't think that's going to be a Meteor Beam range, but we'll see. +1. Okay, it is. I don't know my calcs. I don't know why I say things like that. Of course I don't know if it's in Meteor Beam range. I don't know anything about damage rolls. Because, what do I always say on this channel? I'm a big Pokemon fan, but when the game becomes about math, that's where it starts to get kind of boring to me. Let's try to get rid of this Ogerpon. Terra Rock immediately. I double targeted it to break through Sturdy, but they got rid of their own Sturdy. Moongeist Beam was probably enough. Zamazenta is now free to Behemoth Bash. It goes into Lunala Necrozma, but doesn't do too much. And they forfeit. Ursaluna was looking, I think, a little bit vulnerable to me with -1 defense and a Flame Orb ticking away at it, but yeah, they didn't do enough to Necrozma there. Zamazenta can be kind of a vulnerable Pokemon into Body Press immunities. I don't know what they had in the back. I do know what they had in the back. It was Miraidon. There's still 2 turns of Trick Room left. Miraidon was just going to drop, and Zamazenta was once again not going to be able to do enough by itself. GG to that opponent. What was I talking about a moment ago? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. That's one of the biggest things that have held me back in competitive Pokemon, that I'm just not interested enough in the numbers side of things. I can kind of force it sometimes for like a major tournament or something like that, but... or draft league. But for a video like this, it's low effort EV spreads and I don't know my calcs. And if you watch this channel, you're used to that. What did I say in my Toronto regional recap? I enjoy engaging with the game more as an art than a science. That's my personality as a player. Anyway, this team is a Toxicroak. What does that do? It's immune to water with dry skin. It gets recovery and rain with dry skin, but it's not like it takes hits very well in this format. It gets Sucker Punch. It does get Sucker Punch. Can I bring Smeargle to this game? They don't even have Tailwind. Can I lead Smeargle, Calyrex, and just Glacial Lance immediately if I see the Amoonguss? That feels very unsound, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to. I'll bring Necrozma, and I'll bring... Terrain Control would be nice, Weather Control would be nice. I think the nicest thing is more offense. They lead Toxicroak and Calyrex. Does Toxicroak get Fake Out? I have no idea. It's not a Pokemon I'm used to running into. I'm going to play as if it doesn't. I'm going to Fake Out their Calyrex and set Trick Room. Try to set Trick Room at least. Yeah, if I'd seen an Amoonguss lead, I guess I can't go for Decorate in front of Rage Powder. Because I don't want to decorate their Amoonguss. That was the thought in my head. Leech Seed Ice Rider is a problem. I really like Reg I, but I don't especially enjoy Leech Seed Ice Rider. I mean, it's totally fair game, obviously, but... well... let's just try to power through it. They could take the KO on my Smeargle, though. Probably faster. Don't really have any useful data on that, because I went for Fake Out that turn. I know my Smeargle is slower than Toxicroak. That's kind of useful. Probably faster than their Calyrex. What am I going to switch in on a Glacial Lance anyway? Let's go for the Decorate. Yeah, okay. They knock out Smeargle. They get a Chilling Neigh before I do. They get a Poison Jab into my Calyrex. They're slowly wearing it down. I think this just doesn't work. Probably. Now, this is me forcing a game plan that probably just doesn't work here. I am going to Glacial Lance, Meteor Beam, hope that they don't Sucker Punch my Necrozma. Don't really want to Terra Grass because then I don't take a Glacial Lance. For sure. Let's see what this Meteor Beam does. We've seen them do a lot to Ice Rider earlier in this video. That is a clean KO. That is a good KO. If I find an opening to switch my Calyrex out, which I'm not sure I will, then no more Leech Seed for the rest of the game. But I don't know if that's going to happen. There's still no more Leech Seed into any other targets, obviously. Toxicroak is back. Toxicroak is so scary with Fake Out and potentially threatening a Sucker Punch. I'm going to protect. I'm going to say there's no Sucker Punch. I'm going to say I want damage on this Kyogre. Actually, I can Terra Grass now because the Calyrex is gone. I was starting to reconsider and think about attacking the Toxicroak, but I don't have to make a decision because they forfeit. Works for me. Let's go. Let's get another one. How many games have I played in this video? I lost the first game, right? And then how many more have there been? And I don't think I've taken that second loss yet. I'm not miscounting, am I? How long have I been recording? Yeah. This was a fun Grand Challenge team for sure. Can I go back to the Smeargle stuff for this? Maybe. It's immune to Astral Barrage. Can fake out a partner. Screamtail's annoying. Let's do Smeargle Calyrex. Let's get back on the intentionally try to bring Smeargle to games train. Let's bring Ursaluna. Just for big damage into things like Calyrex and Screamtail. They lead Incineroar and Screamtail. Can I just... Okay, here's what I think it is. Pair of Fire, Trick Room, Decorate, next turn, Follow Me, Glacial Lance. That's what I'm going for. They don't have Trick Room on Screamtail, do they? Just Screamtail get Trick Room? I'm glad I have Terra Fire here. Screamtail gets Trick Room. Oh, I didn't know that. It makes sense. And it makes sense that they would have it. Imprison Trick Room's a nice tech here. It's still Follow Me, Glacial Lance. For sure. Very glad to have the Terra Fire Calyrex there. That is, in case you forgot, because this video's been going on for a while, a change that I made during the video after initially using Terra Dragon. Alright, the Imprison is off the board. Smeargle is still here. I could go for another Trick Room, potentially. We'll see what they bring in. Shadow Rider. I think I can Trick Room on that. Trick Room, Follow Me. They can Astral Barrage, but then that doesn't knock out the Smeargle, so the instant... Okay, I didn't see that coming. That's a nice tech. Credit to them for that. Absolutely. But... I get another big attacker in here in Trick Room. I can high horsepower the Incineroar, so... Necrozma, Moongeist Beam, potentially knock this down to a Sash, sacks Necrozma, but then I get Ursaluna in. Is that enough for Zamazenta? I'm not sure that it is, but if I get a Chilling Neigh boost as well, this feels a little bit unsound. It does. But I think it's okay. There goes Incineroar, get a Chilling Neigh. Not hazing me right now. I clicked Meteor Beam, I meant to click Moongeist Beam. That's my bad. I'm not sure it makes a practical difference in this game, but that's sloppy. I guess I'm just so used to clicking Meteor Beam first. Get Ursaluna in. Would be nice if Ursaluna were already burned. Also would be nice if I could Terrasilize it. That's not the case. I'm going to high horsepower into Calyrex, protect Ursaluna. They're fighting Zamazenta. Is that an intentional choice, or did they forget to change their Terra type? They might just be going for the boosted body press damage. Going to do a lot to my Ursaluna, no doubt. It also is no longer weak to the Headlong Rush, but I'm just going to high horsepower their Calyrex again and Facade Zamazenta. I think that still does a lot, probably. Even with the defense boost. They wide guard, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't clicking spread moves here. And Zamazenta just wasted a ton of tempo there. I feel like tempo is a measurable thing, like it wasted a tempo, but... Yeah, not attacking anything was just a throw there. But I guess they were anticipating me to go for a spread move. But in front of Zamazenta, I wasn't taking that chance. Although the previous turn I had gone for high horsepower, so you'd think they could have guessed. Yeah, that was not the play with that Zamazenta there, I don't think. It certainly didn't work out for them. Groudon and Scovillain. That's an interesting Sun duo. Scovillain gets Chlorophyll, gets Rage Powder, gets Spicy Extract. I can see them cooking something with that for sure. I think it gets Sleep Powder or something too. Shall I get back to the Indeedee stuff? This could be a Smeargle game. It really could. Well... If I'm saying that it could be a Smeargle game, let's make it a Smeargle game. Ready? Let's go. Maybe I should have brought Torkoal instead of Ursaluna. I think so, actually. I just didn't think about that. Oh well. Getting to that point in the video. Might still work out. Ursaluna is so very powerful. They go Groudon, Scovillain immediately. I'm going to Follow Me. And Trick Room. Maybe I redirect a Spicy Extract here. That would be kind of funny. Don't know if I get a Decorate in this game, but that's okay. I mean, I'd rather have Indeedee than Smeargle if I'm not getting a Decorate, but hey, so be it. They just overheat Smeargle, knock it down to its Sash. Scovillain is obviously weakened now. I'll Glacial Lance, and there's a lot less Fire-type damage being threatened right now. I'll go for a Decorate if they let me. They'll probably knock out Smeargle before this Decorate goes off, but... you know, I'll give it a go. Fire Groudon. Ah, okay, I shouldn't have decorated. They have the Rage Powder. The good news is, well, they knock out Spherical anyway, but also they wouldn't have really gotten a chance to do anything with it. Calyrex underspeeds Necrozma, so I'm fine here to Glacial Lance and Meteor Beam into Groudon. The Meteor Beam won't be redirected. Because if Scovillain goes for Rage Powder, it gets knocked out by Calyrex first. Maybe they're thinking through the same thing right now, who knows? They protect Groudon, that's fair. That means I don't get the Meteor Beam damage into it, but I do still get the boost. I also get a Chilling Neigh there, and there are 2 more turns of Trick Room after this one. Here's Rillaboom. Rillaboom can fake something out, obviously not Necrozma. It can fake out Calyrex, no reason to let it. And... guess I'll just Moongeist Beam the Groudon now that I don't have 1-turn Meteor Beam available anymore. They do fake out in the Calyrex slot. Groudon gets knocked out. 1 turn of Trick Room left. Probably no Protect on the Rillaboom, and they can't switch it out because they have nobody in the back. But they could have Wide Guard on the Lunala, but I'm going to say they don't. They could have Wide Guard on the Lunala and stop this Glacial Lance, but if they do that, then Lunala has to eat this Moongeist Beam, so... again, Moongeist Beam does not break through Shadow Shield. I've learned that lesson now. But still, this is +1, Dawn Wings, Necrozma. They don't Wide Guard anyway, so Rillaboom drops, Shadow Shield is broken, Moongeist Beam will pick up the KO on Lunala. Necrozma underspeeding Lunala and Trick Room, once again very useful to this team. Cross 1500. After the rating dropped a bit from some, shall we say, weaker legendary Pokemon that the wheel gave to me, I think Dawn Wings Necrozma is legitimately pretty good, as I keep saying throughout this video. Maybe not the best, but legitimately... I mean, in the end, it's probably outclassed at the Elite Tournament level, but quite possibly by Lunala, but legitimately a pretty decent Pokemon. I mean, legitimately really strong. It's just the bar is higher for restricted Pokemon because you only get 2 of them, and they're so strong. How do I play against this? Man, people have not been leading Zamazenta to this video. I'm going to go Calyrex Smeargle again, is what I started to say, but actually, they have 2 likely fake-out users. I'll do Calyrex and Indeedee. Oracle's kind of reasonable here, but I think it's Ursaluna again. I don't know, the Rillaboom could be a problem for Ursaluna, and it's not so likely to be a problem for Torkoal, but... we'll see. They lead Raging Bolt and Smeargle. They cannot fake out here. They can Spore Indeedee. I'm not going to Terra Grass. I don't think it's worth it in this position. I think just getting 1 Follow Me off and setting up the Trick Room is enough. Maybe that's kind of silly, actually, because the Smeargle will have a Focus Sash. If they put Indeedee to sleep here, then it can take a hit from Calyrex and put Calyrex to sleep. Oh well, we're going to deal with it if it happens. Also could have Wide Guard. Smeargle does run that. They actually just switch it out to Rillaboom. Okay, they changed the terrain. Fake Out is on the board for them now. But I get Trick Room up. Indeedee survives the turn. I think it might be worthwhile to preserve Indeedee. No, there's not really anybody I can safely switch in here, so I'll let Indeedee go down. On the other hand, I think they might focus their efforts on Calyrex. Let's get some damage if we can. They do Thunderbolt Calyrex. They Woodhammer Indeedee, knock it out. That gives me... don't love Ursaluna in this position, so I guess it gives me Necrozma. I don't have Psychic Terrain, though. Maybe I do go Ursaluna, but I Terra Ghost, so I'm not afraid of Grassy Glide. I'm okay with it. Glacial Lance, Terra Ghost. Might be a little short-sighted, but sometimes just have to go for it with a team like this. And I think I can Facade. Not worry about lowering my defenses right now. Okay, not going to get a whole lot of damage this turn. Yeah. Let's see if they let me get these big attacks into Zamazenta. It's risky because Zamazenta can protect, and Raging Bolt is so much more vulnerable, but Zamazenta is a more important target, I think. Maybe it's not, actually, now that I don't have a ground type. But I can see Rillaboom switching right back in, taking the high horsepower, Zamazenta covering with Wide Guard after that. I think it's better to prioritize the Zamazenta here. If they protect and kill another turn of my Trick Room, then I'm in danger, but it happens. They switch Rillaboom in, like I said. They Wide Guard, okay. Get rid of Zamazenta. That's huge, no more Wide Guard. But they can fake out Calyrex to get through the last turn of Trick Room now. They do have that option. And I think, much as I dislike it, I think I protect Calyrex and avoid letting it take a fake out into a Thunderbolt or something unnecessarily. They actually have Smeargle here. They can fake out with either of those. Let's knock this Smeargle down to its Sash. They didn't bring Shadow Rider Calyrex, which is potentially huge when all of my Pokemon at this point are weak to the Astral Brush. Because I Terastallized Ursaluna, and the Trick Room's about to end. Follow me from Smeargle. We do knock Smeargle down to its Sash. Trick Room coming to an end, though, now. Tough position. I think there's a Spore coming out into Calyrex. I don't think there's much I can do about it. I think I click Trick Room here, just hoping. Or... hang on, I need to think this one through. I think maybe I switched in a Necrozma and Earthquake. Just try to go for both KOs here. I can't put Ursaluna to sleep. It is no longer immune to Electric, but it's a pretty high HP. Then I need Calyrex to beat Rillaboom in the end game. I think that's what I'm going to go for. I am damaging my own Necrozma here, but I'm looking to do more damage to their Pokemon. They don't have grassy terrain on the field right now, but they do knock out Ursaluna before the Earthquake goes off. Whoops. And now Smeargle is turbo fast. It's faster than these anyway. I'll click Trick Room with Necrozma because I think it waking up is my best out here. I'll protect Calyrex. They might Thunderbolt Necrozma anticipating the protect on Calyrex. They probably do, yeah. Another one KOs. First turn, Wake Up might have saved the game, but we don't get it. And that'll be GG, I think. They'll knock out Necrozma here. Yep. If I still have the Terra Grass available, then Necrozma actually could go kind of crazy here. Necrozma might just win the game if I still have the Terra Grass available, but I don't. They decorate the Raging Bolt, and that's going to be a big Thunderbolt, knocking out my Calyrex. But I think that is only the second loss of the video. So... it has been going on for a while, though. You know what? I'm going to force the Smeargle thing. I'm going to try to make Decorate plays. I'm going to prioritize Decorate over Optimal Play. And that way we might get to the third loss quickly, but we might have some fun along the way. This is actually an opposing Trick Room team. It's not hard Trick Room like mine, because they have that Miraidon. I also think I recognize this username. It's probably just someone I've played on the ladder before, but maybe it's a known player. I don't know. Scarf for Shifu, too. This is rough, right? Because they can play in or out of Trick Room while I'm kind of committed to one. They can match, they can keep up with me in Trick Room. Mostly. I mean, my restricteds are faster than their restricteds. But they also can play nicely outside of Trick Room. It is Wide Guard Lunala. That's good to know. That Urshifu is Single Strike form, right? Yeah, that's a nightmare to deal with. You know what? This is a tough enough matchup. I'm going to go back on my word. I'm not going to prioritize this Smeargle. I'm just going to play this one straight up, and I might well lose anyway. Calyrex, Indeedee, Necrozma. I would like to bring Ursaluna. I would also like to bring Torkoal Ursaluna. That Urshifu might just win. Kind of want Torkoal to underspeed. Well, anything will underspeed it because it's scarfed. They can take a KO on DD here if they want, but I don't think they can deny Trick Room. Then winning in the Trick Room is going to be tough. But hey, so it goes. Not forcing the Smeargle issue because this looks like an interesting and challenging enough matchup anyway. As the Scarf Urshifu goes first, that means they get that Volt Switch damage into Calyrex. Good thing it's not Hadron Engine boosted. Urshifu locking into Wicked Blow means that we're not going to see any Sucker Punch from it immediately. I'm going to Terrasilize, I'm going to Terra Fire to take an Eruption. I'm going to Glacial Lance to hit whatever is in this slot by the time the attack goes off. I'm going to click Meteor Beam into Torkoal. I'm going to take a ton of damage before that attack goes off, but hopefully not get knocked out. Because what else can I do here? I haven't been clicking the Expanding Force as much as I'd like this video. Sometimes you can really get the Size Spam ball rolling with this team, but there's been a lot of electric and grassy terrain going around, just kind of how it goes in this format. Torkoal avoids the Meteor Beam. That's smart. Urshifu does not get knocked out by the Glacial Lance. I don't know why I entertained that it might. Necrozma just throws his life away here. And it's Urshifu, or it's Calyrex and Ursaluna against the world. Glacial Lance. Kinda don't want a headlong rush. I actually don't think I have to. I think I can protect an Earthquake here. Ursaluna not being burned yet isn't ideal, but it should still do big damage into everything that I've seen so far. They don't have Lunala on the field, so they can't wide guard right this moment. Urshifu is low. Both of the other Pokemon that they've shown me so far are weak to the Earthquake. Ursaluna just gets clean knocked out by Eruption. Alright, that's GG. That is GG. If Ursaluna had gotten an attack off, I wouldn't have had to worry about that Wicked Blow, but it didn't. Alright, yeah, I didn't need to force the Smeargle issue at all. I did just run into a couple of opponents back-to-back that knew how to handle this team and and were well equipped to do it. Now, this opponent is a fair bit higher on the ladder than anyone else I've played this video. That makes sense. I also feel like I vaguely recognize them, but like I said, I don't know if that's because I've played them on the ladder before, which I'm sure I have, or if I know them from something else. Like a tournament placement or something. And yeah, I'm kind of tired anyway. This was like an hour of hard Trick Room games, some of which went by pretty quickly. I have no idea how many games I played in this video. Let me know in the comments. Please do. I'm very curious, actually. And kind of hungry too. I'm gonna have to go get some food. It's funny, I avoided ever playing hard Trick Room in restricted formats for a while because there are a lot of tedious things in Pokemon that I don't mind doing. For the most part, I have absolutely no problem with the current state of the grind to build a team in-game. I think Sword and Shield is the best it's been. Scarlet and Violet is a little bit of a step back, but I, for the most part, have no problem at all with it. It's tedious, I don't care. But the one thing I won't do, because for some reason it's just where my brain draws the line, is reset my game over and over. So, resetting for 0 speed legendaries, I just don't do it. And if I were playing a format where I thought that min speed was absolutely necessary, I just would not play hard Trick Room in that format. And so that was what I thought about hard Trick Room in restricted formats for a while. I did have min speed on this team because it's Showdown. I can just use a slider and a box with some numbers in it. But I did not have min speed on my Pokemon on cartridge for the Grand Challenge run. But in this format, with so many things being so fast, that was fine. You know, sometimes so many opposing teams are going to go so fast, you're just not really punished for not having min speed on your mons. I also didn't have to worry about speed ties because my Calyrex was not speed tying with my Ursaluna. Because I could just breed a 0 speed Ursaluna, but I don't have a 0 speed Calyrex. So even though I used to say I would never use hard Trick Room in a restricted format, there's room for nuance there, right? Sometimes the format is fine with Pokemon that are just kind of on the slow side playing in Trick Room. There's actually a lot of that in Reg-I because so many teams are so fast. And I actually had a lot of fun, have had a lot of fun so far whenever I've tried it with hard Trick Room in this format. This was a good instance of this. I'm glad I just went with the Duskmane, the Dawn Wings. I'm glad I just went with the Dawn Wings Necrozma team that I knew instead of trying to force something with Duskmane. But I am tired now and I am hungry, so we'll call it here and we'll see what legendary comes up on the wheel next time.